Hey guys, I'm Dave Trull and welcome to the Trull Gallery. Today, we're going to clean up the miter saw. Some of my tools have been around for a while. My sliding compound miter saw is one of them. I've had it for about 20 years now, and I've been meaning to clean it up for a while. Okay, I'm way overdue to clean it up. But with a little time, a couple pieces of scrap wood, we'll get this saw working just like a champ. Let's take a look and see how it goes.
I started off by replacing my old, worn-out table inserts that came with my saw. To start with, remove the screws that hold them in place. Then clean out all of the scraps and dust that fell into the base. Now you can mill a replacement blank for a zero clearance insert. In the case of this Hitachi saw, the blank was 15 3/4 of an inch long, 2 1/4 inches wide, and about 0.45 inches thick. I had some scrap maple, so I milled that to size. The final step was to round the corners so that the blank would fit snugly into the space. I cut out a piece of paper the same size as my blank, laid it in where the blank will go, and used a pencil to locate the 6 mounting holes. I could then transfer those locations onto the blank. At the drill press, I set my fence to help register the location of the holes. I started with an 1/8 inch bit and drilled all the way through at each location. Next, I used a 7/16 inch brad point bit to drill the countersink holes for the screw heads. Make sure to drill deep enough that the screw heads will sit below the surface. I then switched to a 17/64 inch bit and drilled the through hole for the screws. After test fitting the piece to make sure everything fit just right, I gave the piece a quick sanding. Once that was done, I could install the new zero clearance table insert. If your insert sits too low, you can shim it with some paper, tape, or business cards. If it sits too high, plane or sand it down until it sits flush. Now it's time to shift to new fence pieces. I started with a single piece of flat and straight, 1/2 inch thick Baltic birch ply. A warp or twisted piece will be useless as a fence, at least if you want to have straight cuts. The piece I had was 26 inches long, and that was just about right. Over at the table saw, I ripped it down to 2 inches wide. I removed the old, worn-out fence pieces and cleaned out all of the dust and debris from the area. Next, I set the new piece in place, centered it from side to side, and clamped it in place. I marked the mounting screw locations with a pencil and headed for the drill press. I started with a 1/4 inch bit, again setting my fence to help with the registration, and drilled the first 2 through holes. I adjusted the fence and drilled the other pair. I'm not sure why, but the holes on this fence are 2 different heights. Next, we head to the router table. I used a 1/4 inch spiral bit and set my fence to match the height of the first set of holes. Rather than trying to hog it out in one pass, I set the bit low and cleaned it out in 3 passes. Start the router, lower the stock so the hole goes over the bit, and then feed across to the mating hole. Adjust the bit height and repeat 2 more times. I did go back and extend the slots about 2 inches beyond the outer holes to allow for adjustments later. I could have saved some time had I remembered this in the first place. Once you have the clearance groove for the screws, change over to a 1/2 inch straight bit and set your depth for about 1/8 of an inch. I drew registration marks on the fence to show me where the far sides of the bit were. I also had registration marks in the stock about 1/4 inch beyond the 1/4 inch grooves. Again, start the router, plunge the stock so that the start line is in line with the left side of the bit, and then move the stock until your stop line meets the line for the right side of the bit, and then just lift your stock off. Now you can adjust the height of the router bit to about 1/4 inch or maybe a bit more and repeat the cut. You want to ensure that the screw head sits below the surface of your fence pieces. Since the two sets of holes are at different locations, you have to reset the fence and repeat the entire process for the second side. While you're at the router, you can add a small chamfer at the bottom of the fence piece. It's hard to see here, but the chamfer I added was only about 1/8 of an inch high. This will allow the dust that builds up during cuts to sneak under the fence and not build up and push your stock out of square. A little sanding and the fence is ready to mount. Start by putting the screws through the plywood fence piece, then through the aluminum fence of the saw. Add the nuts, but only finger tight until all 4 are in place. Once they're all snug, you can tighten them down. Use a straight edge that's long enough to span the entire fence to ensure that your new fence is in line. If it's not, you may be able to shim it straight. If that doesn't work, build a new one. Like I said, a warped or twisted fence will mess up every one of your cuts. It's time for the moment of truth. Make your first cut into the zero clearance table insert, going right through the new fence. Now get a piece of test stock with a known straight edge. Trim off one end of that piece and check your cut with a reliable square. If the cut is square, you're all set. If it's off, you can adjust the fence assembly until your fence sits square with the cut line. I'd check with the owner's manual of your particular saw to do that. The last thing to do on this tune-up is to add a new blade. I could just send this one out for sharpening, but I needed a backup blade anyways, so I ordered this Freud 62 crosscut blade. I'm now ready to make some fine cuts with little or no tear out.
It took me less than 2 hours to clean up my miter saw. I can't believe I waited this long to tune it up. It is now set to give me clean, square cuts, and this new blade will give me burnt-free cuts for a long time to come. When I relocate the shop, I'll add some dust collection, and a fence system with a stop on it, but that'll wait for now. I'd love to hear what you guys think about this project. Is there something I could have done better, more efficiently, smarter? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And, if you haven't already, maybe you might hit that subscribe button so you see what's coming up in the future. For now, have a great day, stay safe, take care. We'll see you soon.